y'all, Scott here. Let's talk about it. What's up, gamers? Welcome back to another episode of Video Game Gems. I'm Ginge the Ripper. Let's play a game. Scott Pilgrim, the series that teaches you that it's okay to murder for love. You want to go out sometime? Scott Pilgrim started as a 6-book graphic novel series by Brian Lee O'Malley, in which the notorious Scott Pilgrim falls head over heels for the beloved Ramona Flowers. In order to earn the right to date her, he must defeat her 7 evil exes. Before the series was finished, O'Malley was offered a movie deal with Edgar Wright titled Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, named after Book 2. Ubisoft was put in charge of creating a game that would release alongside the movie, cleverly titled Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, so players wouldn't confuse it with something else. I thought this was a chair. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, was a digital exclusive for both the 360 and the PlayStation 3. It's a 4-player side-scrolling beat-em-up. Choose between one of 4 playable characters as you run around town mugging bad guys while searching for Ramona's evil exes. There are 7 levels total, with 1 or more bosses at the end. Beat the bosses and you move on to the next stage until all of Ramona's evil exes are defeated. You can play as the main protagonist himself, Scott Pilgrim, his 2 band members and friends, Kim Pine and Steven Stills, or his girlfriend, Ramona Flowers. By completing the game with all 4 characters, you're rewarded with a 5th character. A couple years after the game's release, 2 additional characters were added as downloadable content: Knives Chow, a ninja and Scott's previous girlfriend, and Wallace Wells, Scott's gay roommate. Each character has a different ending, Ramona's being the true ending where she and Scott end up together. She was given the true ending so Scott could have a funnier one. Another 2 years later and the game was pulled from the 360 and PS3's digital library. Those who bought the game were allowed to re-download it, but since the game was exclusively digital, those who didn't already have the game were out of luck. And those who did have the game but hadn't purchased the DLC no longer could. On January 14th of this year, for the game's 10th anniversary, it was released with all the DLC content across all modern platforms as Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the Game Complete Edition. Starting up the game, you'll find that all of the characters are playable except Knives. In order to unlock her, you have to have a Ubisoft account linked to your game. This isn't a big issue since Ubisoft accounts are free, but I have to ask, why? You can't really call this game the Complete Edition if it doesn't initially come with all the characters. Each character starts at level 1 and gains new abilities as they level up. This game differs from your typical beat-em-up through the way it handles the character's stats. Character stats won't enhance by leveling them up. You gain them by purchasing random items in shops all over the game. You won't know what any of the items do until you've purchased them, giving you a reason to seek out all the shops and see what they're selling. Characters have one move they can't obtain by leveling up, rather you have to purchase it in the secret shop of level 6 for a hefty fee. Another unique gimmick of this game is the introduction of gut points. These can either be used to pull off special moves, call strikers, or be converted into health if you lose all your HP. And if a character is out of guts, their HP can be used as guts. Pressing the right bumper allows a player to use a character's special move, doing a little more damage and knocking enemies backward. I've never really found special moves to be useful since your other moves get much stronger in time and are quicker to pull off. They also don't cost gut points, and it doesn't take long to obtain them. Using the left bumper allows a character to call a striker, a secondary character that either attacks enemies or buffs the character. Everyone starts out with Knives except for Knives herself, who gets her mother, Mrs. Chow. Knives' father, Mr. Chow, will randomly appear in the hub world for a chance to unlock him as your second striker if you can beat him. Weapons are scattered throughout the game. They can be picked up by both players and enemies. Weapons are a little stronger than your normal attacks and can be swung faster, allowing you to do more damage quickly. Almost anything can be used as a weapon. Baseball bats, umbrellas, trash cans, chairs, your chain chomp desk lamp. Get back here! Weapons can be thrown and pushed around the stage. When weapons go flying, they can damage both the players and enemies. The map can get pretty chaotic at times. Friends and enemies can also be picked up and used as items after they get knocked down. It's fun to just pick up a friend and swing them around at enemies. Weapons can also break after a while, so you can't hold on to them forever. You broke my lamp! If you defeat 5 enemies in a row without being knocked down, your character will glow. While glowing, they are faster and their attacks are stronger. It wears off over time, but it can also be disrupted if the player is knocked down. While glowing, your character also has the ability to rack up a combination chain of quick attacks to see how many hits you can get in before the glow wears off. The more enemies caught in your combination chain, the quicker it will grow. Characters can also taunt by holding down the normal attack button. If everyone playing taunts at the same time and has 50 guts to spare, you'll all do a big attack that damages all enemies on stage. I love how they incorporated Scott's band, Sex Bomb, as an attack. Each character plays their canonical instruments. Scott plays the bass, Kim is playing the drums, and Steven is playing his guitar, all while a giant monster chomps on all the enemies. Since none of the other characters were in the band, they had to improvise. Ramona and Knives both sing, the unlockable character freaks out and attacks the monster behind them, and Wallace just stands there drinking beer because Wallace is awesome. Ramona has a unique ability that is exclusive to her. By holding down the strong attack button for a few seconds, she will pull a random weapon out of her bag at the cost of 9 guts. After you've beaten the game, why not try out some cheat codes? This game is loaded with extra gimmicks you can use to break the game by inputting various cheat codes on either the title screen, overworld map, or in-game. You have a code that starts every level with the power of love, Scott's first sword in the novels, and the strongest weapon in the game. You've also got a blood code that makes enemies spew blood when you attack them. This is a reference to the 1993 Sega Genesis version of Mortal Kombat, the fighting game series known for its blood and gore. Back in the day, the home consoles were marketed toward a young male demographic, so in order for this game to be released on home consoles, the blood had to be removed. However, sneaky Sega left it in their version to be accessible via a cheat code. There's a code that turns all your currency into animals instead of coins, one that unlocks the sound test in the overworld, and finally the noble sacrifice that allows you to exchange a life for $50. This is useful for quickly gaining stats and leveling up your character. Noble sacrifice is done by holding the bottom face button and inputting up, down, left, right face button into your controller. This is a reference to the Konami code. By pressing up, down, left, right, B, A, start in various Konami games, you could activate various cheats, the most iconic being the 30 life code in Contra. In the original game, you held down the left and right trigger buttons while inputting up, down, left, right, B, A. This change was most likely made in the Complete Edition because this was the first time the game was on a Nintendo console, and Nintendo's and Xbox face buttons are swapped. There was also a code in the original game that let multiple people play as the same character. I haven't gotten it to work in either version of Complete that I own. This code either wasn't added to the Complete version, has a different button combination like Noble Sacrifice, or the code is there but the game is glitched and keeping the code from being accessible. I really hope this is fixed in a future update. Being able to not only play as the same character, but as the same color character gives the game more replay value and is a fun time all around with friends. 2 final codes in the original game unlocked 2 additional game modes, Boss Rush Mode and Zombie Survival Mode. Boss Rush Mode is pretty self-explanatory. You fight through all the bosses and see how fast you can defeat them all. In Zombie Survival, you're dropped into an arena with a relentless horde of zombies. Your goal is to survive as long as you can while defeating as many enemies as you can. These 2 modes are automatically unlocked and complete and are found in the Extra Game Modes category with 2 additional modes, Battle Royale and Dodgeball. In Battle Royale, up to 4 players are dropped into an arena and fight to the death, fighting for the right to christen themselves the ultimate Scott Pilgrim player. There are weapons scattered all around the arena for characters to use. If a player stands outside of the arena for more than 10 seconds, they are automatically killed. Characters can't call their strikers, but they can still use their special moves. And oddly enough, they can also do their combined attack, though it doesn't do any damage to the players. Dodgeball is pretty underwhelming. You get one of several random balls that do different amounts of damage. You can only damage enemies by throwing the ball and win once all the enemies and players are defeated. In a single player match, you just defeat 4 enemies and that's it, the game's over. In a multiplayer match, you have to defeat the other players as well, but this can be tedious. If all of your characters have max stats, you'll do around 7 damage to each player. With a total of 200 HP each, the game can drag on for a while. If you were allowed to play with multiple balls and characters took 3 times the damage, this mode could be more enjoyable. The artwork in Scott Pilgrim is absolutely beautiful. All the sprites work was created by Paul Robertson, known for his amazing pixel animations. Ubisoft could have settled for low pixelated sprites of the actors from the movie, but instead went out of their way to make the characters as cartoony and fun as their graphic novel counterparts. It's not just the main characters either. Most of the background characters are characters you meet across the series, some that didn't even make it into the film. All of these characters can be found at the end of the game cheering your party on as you take on the final boss. Remember, Wallace wasn't initially a playable character. The only character that doesn't show up here is Neil Nordegraf. However, this character does. He doesn't show up in the novels or the movie, so I assume he's either a character from one of O'Malley's other works, or he's a character owned by Ubisoft or Robertson. If anyone knows the answer, let me know in the comments. The band Anamanaguchi was put in charge of the music for the game, and well, just listen. Need I say more? Each track is catchy and fun and fills the players with vigor and energy and makes you want to keep on going. I don't know much about the band Anamanaguchi. Apparently they are well known for their chiptune tracks that are just as good as the ones you hear in Scott Pilgrim. Being a big fan of the band I Fight Dragons, also known for their chiptune style music, I will definitely have to check them out sometime. Scott Pilgrim is full of references and Easter eggs from other video games as well as the novels. Holly works in a video store like she does in the novels. Scott actually owes $504.28 of late fees, but since you can only gain or spend money in increments of 5 cents, the number was rounded down. If you manage to pay off Scott's late fees, you can buy stats, lives, and levels obscenely cheaper than in the secret shops. Stacy Pilgrim canonically works in a coffee shop called The Second Cup. I don't know why the shops in the game were not named after the ones from the novels, but the game was finished in a hurry, so that might have something to do with it. The Subspace Highway is a place that exists in the minds of the characters and is used as a shortcut through various points in the game. In some cases, you'll see blocks that look oddly familiar. The Power of Love is one of Scott's 2 swords he unlocks in the novels. Neither of the swords are used that often in the novels or in the movie, so it makes sense that the Power of Understanding was never put in the game. Scott actually receives the power of love before his fight with Roxy, the fourth Evil X, but it makes more sense in the game to give it to him near the end, especially since you don't get any other powerful weapons throughout the game. At the beginning of the game, we see Wallace, Stacy, and Stacy's boyfriend Jimmy headed for the Crash and the Boys concert at the end of the stage. Once your team arrives, you'll find Wallace has stolen Stacy's boyfriend and she is not happy about it. You can also see that Crash and the Boys have knocked everyone on the first floor of the building unconscious with their music like they do in the novels. There are many more references to discover while playing. I recommend getting the game for yourselves and finding them all if you're interested. So with all this game has to offer, is it a gem? Well, for those of you who have played this game, you'll probably realize that there's one mode I haven't brought up yet. This game features online play where you and friends from far away or complete strangers can play through the game together. However, online mode is pretty buggy and a lot of times problems arise with it. One of the main problems you'll run into is that what's happening on your screen might not necessarily be happening on the other player's screens, and without that coordination, your characters can get stuck in various areas with no way to progress. I'm told this was a problem with the online mode in the original game as well. However, I never had a chance to experience this game online back in the day. Hopefully in future updates this will no longer be a problem. I will say that I haven't tried online mode for a while, and the game has had several updates since then. Glitches aren't exclusive to online mode. Complete is a port of the original game onto other consoles that it wasn't originally meant to run on. Therefore, the game suffers from plenty of glitches offline as well. Occasionally, music won't play where it should. Level 5's bosses can be exploited as you are allowed to attack them before the battle even begins. The secret shop in level 6 is almost impossible to get into, especially with the bigger characters like Steven and Wallace, and everyone's least favorite, the staircase at the end of level 5, is almost impossible to climb. Most of these glitches probably stem from the game being rushed. A lot of stuff happened during the development of the game. The movie took 6 years to develop, but the game's production was put on hold early on and not picked back up until the movie neared completion. At the time, the game had only one character and one level completed, and they hadn't even started on the music. Paul Robertson, as well as a bunch of the other teammates, were surprised the game was finished at all, stating that the game was only about 50% of what the team originally envisioned. One of the differences that they mentioned was that the bosses weren't as unique and expressive as they wanted them to be. I have no doubt that in time most of these glitches will be fixed with future updates. When they are, this game will be a bona fide gem, but for now I think it's best left to personal opinion. At the same time, I would love to see a remake of this game in the future the way the game was originally intended to be created. It would be interesting to see just how much more expansive this game was going to be. Scott Pilgrim was a fun, short little game back in the day that proved that games based off of movies didn't have to suck, but that's a topic I'll save for a Ginge talk. After it went off the market, a lot of us thought we'd never see this game again. I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, but Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a product where different parts of the game are owned by multiple parties. Usually in these situations, none of the parties will give up their rights to another because they are afraid of losing out on all the money they could be making, while at the same time those parties aren't interested in working as a group to revive the product or franchise. I'm glad it's back, and I'm glad the fanbase for it has grown. I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you're a fan of the series, or a fan of beat 'em ups. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep on gaming.